I'm Kara Morgan. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Election Information. We're helping visitors and listeners to be informed when it comes to election choices. Today, I'm with Nicholle Moody. She is running for County Commission Position 1. Hi.
Hi.
So, Nicholle, tell us a little bit about yourself to start off.
I have a bachelor's degree in social work. I spent the first part of my career working with adults who are developmentally disabled. We helped put them to work, travel train them on buses, how to get a job inside the system, outside the system. We worked with care providers, psychologists, psychiatrists, lots of work in that field, about 10 years. But I couldn't really pay my bills. Social work doesn't pay a lot. Sad. So inside the same system, I worked for the ARC of San Diego. Inside of that system, I went from a case manager to a contracts administrator. There was an attorney who had been doing the job before. He left. And I was like, I can do that job. So I sold my boss on the fact that I could, and I did. And from there, I moved from contract admin to for-profit contracts management. And I spent most of my career negotiating contracts with hospitals, public health, Miramar, Navy bases, Air Force bases, government entities. It was so fun. I really enjoyed it. But I left about 10 years ago. My dad got sick in San Diego, and the economy sort of took a right-hand turn. And so I thought, you know what, that's okay. I've got a house, I've got equity. Let's go take a look at what the coast looks like. And so I sold all my stuff, brought my toys to Oregon. I bought a duplex, converted it to a triplex so I could have money while I sort of figured out what to do with the rest of my life. And so here we are. I started 2 small businesses. One is this triplex. The other was a cab business, which I'm winding down this week. And I thought I'd throw my hat in the race because I'm concerned about the county and what's happening.
So that was going to be my next question is why you're running for county commissioner.
Yeah, it really started in 2020 when COVID happened and BLM happened. And I sort of just started wondering like what our priorities here are. And what I thought after COVID was that we were going to have some attention placed on the economy. I thought, we chased all these jobs away. We put people out of work. Obviously, we're going to do something to revitalize the economy, bring jobs back. But instead, I see a very anti-business sort of approach in Oregon in general, but also in the county. I see taxes, I see regulations. I'm looking at IP 28, I think is what it's called, and they're coming for hunters and fishermen and trappers and farmers. And I'm thinking to myself, didn't Oregon grow off of all of those people? And now we're going to punish them. We're going to criminalize their jobs. That's a bad move. And so for me, I don't really care to watch how hostile we are to business. We can't pay for all the social programs the county really wants without jobs. So why did we do nothing to revitalize the economy? And what are we going to do moving forward? We can't spend without generating money.
And what leadership skills would you bring to the role?
So I've been a social worker for a long time. So my negotiation skills are good. I'm a good listener. I have a lot of empathy. But I also, had staff for a long time. I hired people. I had to let people go. But for me, listening is a big deal. And so I feel like if you can establish a relationship with people, a rapport with people, if you can get them to trust you, you can build alliances and partnerships. And that's what I do. That's what I did when I was a contracts manager. I worked with finance. I worked with service departments. I figured out what their jobs were because a contracts manager has to know how the whole company functions in order to review a contract and know whether or not that contract term meets what we actually do. So I spent a lot of time partnering with those departments to understand, and then I spent the rest of my time protecting companies. So for me, it's protecting the people, listening to the people, and then advocating for the people, which I see no advocacy for the people now. I see advocacy for a small percentage of the people, but my biggest concern is the middle class. They fund everything. And if we don't do something to lighten the load for the middle class, we're not going to be successful. And that's where I want to see us sort of move.
What are your thoughts on transparency?
Love it. It's my favorite thing. Obviously, there are things you can't tell the people, but like, for instance, I'm watching weirdness. I'm seeing Casey Miller want to add agenda items. And Walter Chuck is saying, oh, well, you didn't sign up. And I'm like, why should a Board of Commissioner member have to sign up to add an agenda item? But he did. He sent his paperwork in. They love their paperwork. It's a whole bureaucracy of paperwork. Enough paperwork to be like, well, we don't have to do that, and we're not going to do that because the paperwork says we don't have to. There's no amount of paperwork in the world that would make me not want to listen to my co-commissioner, or more than that, a taxpayer. And what I'm seeing is over and over again, they're shutting Casey Miller down, they're shutting taxpayers down. They don't want to hear anything. And so for me, let's be transparent about that. Let's be transparent that we're serving a bureaucracy instead of the people. And I think more information for the people is better than not. We work for them.
And let's talk a little bit about, speaking of county leadership, how do you feel about the county administrator role?
I have questions about it. I have questions about how it came to be. I have questions about who was selected. I have questions about processes in general, and I'll just liken it to the way they've gone through the interview process. We waited 60 days to get anyone to the interview process, and then they chose 4 out of 23 people. Why did we wait those additional 3 weeks? Who's making these choices and why? And the administrator role, it just makes me believe that we're serving an administrative state right now. We're serving the bureaucracy, and that's part of it. I don't appreciate how that particular situation came to be, but I would like to see more attention given to what the people want as opposed to creating a larger bureaucracy.
And there's been a lot of comment, so to speak, on public comment and the rules, and people feel different ways about that. What are your thoughts?
I think that the best thing you can do as a representative is listen to the people. We give public comment only 3 minutes for each person. And what I've noticed is they make you sign up first, which, okay, that's fine. But there's a piece of paper, and there were only a select number of pieces of paper, which means they were limiting public comment. That's one. 2 is about a month ago, there was someone with their hand up online trying to speak, and Casey was the chair, and Casey was going to let them speak. But Walter said they didn't sign up online 24 hours in advance. So Casey was like, it's cool. I'm gonna take the call. And Walter said, I believe this is what I heard from, I was there, but I didn't hear it. I was told that he said, if you take that call, I'm leaving. So Walter was willing to shut down the entire meeting to avoid listening to a taxpayer for 3 minutes. That's 3 minutes. You don't have 3 minutes to listen to them. Casey said, I'm going to take the call. And in the end, he didn't. He let Walter sort of control the situation. And if it were me, I would have taken the call. Casey had seniority. Casey has been elected by the people, and he was the chair. He had the power to do it, and he let a man who didn't get a single vote, who doesn't have seniority, and who wasn't chair say no to him. That has to stop. I don't know why we're working so hard not to listen to the people. Like, there's no job without the people.
All right, Nicholle, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yes. I want people to know, one, I'm Irish, so I can be a little feisty. And 2, I'm ADHD. So if I start to get passionate, I start to talk fast, I talk with my hands. I don't want people to misinterpret that as anger. I want them to just understand I'm hardwired to be sort of a lot. And I don't mean to be a lot. It's just the way I was built. And I have put in tools to sort of deal with it. I appreciate the way this is going. But I want people to understand who I am. And I want them to understand that, if I'm in a meeting and I ask a question and they're like, why is she asking a question? It's because I actually care. I really do. I don't want to see the people stifled. And when I see them silenced, when I see Casey Miller silenced or Jenna Wallace, it does make me angry. And so I'm trying very hard not to lead with that. I'm trying to temper myself and be a good girl. But, I am Irish and I am ADHD, and this is just how I'm built.
All right. So if somebody wants some more information about you or has questions for you, how can they go about getting that information?
They can go to Facebook. It's just my name, Nicholle Moody, and they can call me at 541-992-4904. But I kept my Facebook page because it goes back 3 years. And as a business owner, all my values are there, and they go back 3 years. You can go and see what I really believe, and there's a history and there's a record of it. I wanted people to be able to know who I was. I didn't go back and delete that stuff. And I don't have a website. I'm self-funding, so I'm being very conservative where I spend my money.
All right. Well, Nicholle, thank you so much for joining me on election information. Wish you the best of luck in the election.
Thank you, Kira.
Thanks for watching. I'm Kira Morgan.